What's going on, everybody?
It's been a week, hasn't it? Oh, goodness.
One full week.
I'm sorry that it took us so long. We've had some complications going on, but we're back with a new episode of The Doors. Hello, my friends. We are the developers of our own opportunities, reinforcing success. And guess what? It's time to open some doors.
So today, guys, we're going to dive into work ethic. Ba-bum. Work ethic is something that it has very, very different views, very, very different perspectives. There's a lot of people that think that work ethic is earned. There's a lot of people that also think work ethic is something that is developed from your parents or the way that you were actually raised. We're going to dive really deep into that and kind of determine which one is different. I've came up with a bunch of numerous ways for work ethic, but I think, me personally, I think the main keys to it is being consistently hungry.
Yeah.
That's a big one. I think that's one of the big ones.
Yeah.
Number two is reasons. Why are you doing this?
That's a good point.
Why do you want to succeed? Why do you want to have a six-figure income? Why do you want to own your own business? Why do you want to be fit?
Yeah.
And then the third one is the dirty work. You got to do the dirty work. You have to be one of those people that you are not scared to crawl underneath a house or walk on beams. I used to do HVAC, so that was one of the things I did. Or just anything in your field. Like if you're a doctor, like you can't be one of those people, or you want to be a doctor, you can't be one of those people that's scared to stay up for nights and nights studying and writing, theories and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But going on the work ethic side, I think this is something that's going to be really great for you guys as well as us, especially if you're sitting at home with the corona. Everybody's kind of locked up and in the house.
Playing video games, doing some research, sleeping, catching up on some Z's.
And then the crazy ones like me going to the gym.
Yeah.
Well, it shouldn't be.
So I also have some things that we're going to go over. Like I have a lot of almost insight into my life because I've had a pretty good work ethic for most of the things that I've done, and of course there's some that I don't, and I'm going to talk about that as well. But I'm going to talk about the way that the work ethic I've had in different situations and what's brought it upon in my life, and what different key aspects can help you in those scenarios as well. And that's going to be really my take on all these interesting things. One of the things I want to get you into though is because let's go way down to the basics, to the bottom bookshelf, everything. So break it down. Work and ethics. Of course, work is doing an action that provides something from it, okay? And then ethics. We have the moral principles that govern a person's behavior or the conducting of an activity, okay? So combining those together, it basically means that the principle that hard work is intrinsically virtuous or worthy of reward. We're doing this, so this work, this activity that we're putting in, basically we're putting in this effort because we know that it's going to be rewarding at the end. Do you hold that true in what you're doing? Because there's a lot of key, like he's a very hard worker in the gym. I know his work ethic is there. It's harder for me because I'm like, okay, what do I want to do? I have all these questions I have to ask. And people have different types of work ethic in those scenarios too.
I think mine kind of started from when I very, very early. At 12, I was already, doing carpentry and stuff with my dad. Yeah. He was teaching me that. I had my first job at 14. I was training in a gym at 15. And then, I left, went off to college. I ended up working at a pizza place before I left for college for 4 years. Was assistant manager there. But it didn't start out like that. I remember at one point that, and not everyone's like this, I remember I was working in a factory, it's called NEMAC in Dixon, and anyone that knows, it's an awful place to work. Like I would literally dig through sand dunes and pick out metal, and they would be driving around with the lifts with molten lava, literally, because they make car motors is what they make.
Oh, wow.
So I just remember I had this goal. I was like, okay, because they would hire like one person on if you stayed, and I think I was like 17. I was about to leave for college, so they were like trying to see if I was going to stay. And I just remember having this voice in my head saying, okay, if this is something that you want and you really want, then you have to be willing to outwork anyone and everyone for it. So I was like, okay. So I'm literally like picking through these big ass like 20-foot dunes of sand, for these metals and throwing them in these bins. And I was like, okay, for every one that they do, I'm going to do 3. So that's kind of how that started.
Driven.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. And I think that's the biggest thing about work ethic is it often gets misplaced because it's something that you can drive from yourself. Yeah. It's not something that you just have to have.
Yeah. I think that's really interesting. You can talk about, like he's talking about in his work. There's different, like growing up, people have work ethic through like outside of it, like basically in closed loop, like I like to think about it. Basically, things that most people already go through. So let's talk about school. Career and job is something outside of that loop. Sports as well.
Yeah, sports was one that I left out. Yeah.
And like, I think that having that, so I'm gonna go into this topic a lot deeper later, but I think that if you want to categorize the older generations than us, talk about, we had one of our coaches, Shandy, talk about all the time. He's like, your generation is fucked, and basically telling us that we had, like, if you don't want to work at McDonald's the rest of your life, you're gonna have to have some work ethic. You have to put the work in. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna talk about deeper later in this how I view the actual situation that our generation is in, and how you can actually go past it with ease. And it's not hard. It's just, we'll get into it. But to dive into something that like really intrinsically motivated me, I've done gymnastics. I did gymnastics from 2 to 16, and then I did cheerleading for 7 years after that. I don't know if you guys have never done gymnastics. The coaches are very, very strict, and you have a plan set out before you. And so if you can have these goals, like we talked about, the step ladder, that's where I got this from. There's always another step on the wrong. Okay, I'm learning this. I'm learning a handstand. I'm learning a cartwheel. Moving on to your Yurchenko fulls off vault. Okay, each of them is a step, and you have this goal in mind, and you're basically trying to outwork everyone around you, everyone in the state, everyone in the region, so you can become the best individual that you can be. And you have these coaches always on your ass trying to push you. And I think that that's really helped me not only in sports, in cheerleading, but in my career. And that's really, that's what's derived my work ethic from it. And not, because honestly in school, I'm that kid that slept in every damn class and did really well. I'm sorry if you're not that person.
Same. Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry if you're not that person. And I did really well on the tests. Like I took GRE and I passed it without even studying. Like, I'm sorry if you're not that person and you're judging me for it, but that's just how my brain works.
And I mean, it's going back to like sports and school as well.
Yeah.
You know, I played football from the time I was 4 up until literally freshman year of high school. And freshman year of high school, I had just done it for so long, I was burnt out. I was just done. I was like, all right, I want to skateboard. Like, this is what I want to do. Yeah. But, you know, whatever it was that I did, whether it was getting in the gym or whether it was skateboarding or whether it was football, like, I always wanted to be the best at it. Like, it was something that I always, and to be honest, 100% of the time, I probably wasn't the best, but I had something that was pushing me, telling me that I will be, you know, if I continue to work.
And that's an interesting facet.
Yeah, very great one. And then school, same way, like very similar to what you said. It was like, I was smart enough that I could have been like top 1%, top caliber, but I just didn't want to do the work. I felt like I didn't have to. I felt like I could do the bare minimum and get by. And then ultimately what I noticed from that when I finally went to college was, you can't bullshit anymore. You have to study. You have to do these
It depends on what major, especially because he was in kinesiology and everything. I was a communications major. What we did is talk. What I learned from that aspect of school, though, is that the way I learn is much like the material doesn't. It's not like I can memorize material, no problem.
Yep.
I don't have to do the homework, blah, whatever. But what I do find interesting is the teacher's viewpoints and the aspects that actually come from the class. And if I have a teacher that's very engaging in the actual course material or actual experiences from that course material, I find that learning to be extensive and fantastic. I can fully engage conversation. It's great. But otherwise, you're just going to bore me with plain material. But
So why engage in work ethic? Like, why would you think that someone needs a great work ethic? Like, what can it give you positively, and what can it actually derive from you negatively?
Well, I don't think people need work ethic in general, but like that also depends on your life. If I knew this guy, like, I'm gonna put this in perspective and tell you the reason why I think I need work ethic and why others do. I'm just saying that in general, it is your choice. When I was going through Panda Express training, there was this guy that I was working with who was much better than me in almost every aspect other than mindset. He worked hard. He knew everything about management, how to do everything except for the numbers, which I love math and it was pretty great. I loved working the numbers. But I got to sit down with him after an interview when he did not get the job that I had for his own store, and he was so simple-minded. He basically retracted most of his statements. He's like, I don't know why I didn't get this. You didn't train me well enough. I don't, like, if I knew the numbers, I would have been set. Like, I don't know why I didn't get it. I can cook everything. I can run the line. I can basically do all this.
So he's making a bunch of excuses as to why he didn't.
Well, and then he put it in this and put it in this. If you think a work ethic is just external. It's wrong.
Yeah,
it's
it
wrong.
can't be
You're
just external.
always constantly like I'm always constantly reminding myself, damn, I could have been doing something better than this. Could have been doing this, which makes me continually grow, which is a huge aspect of my life. I don't want to, like, he told me he wanted to he wanted to have a small house. He wanted to be assistant manager for the rest of his life. He wanted to live happily with his girlfriend. That's great. Don't gotta have work ethic. You just gotta do your job.
Yeah.
But for me, I am always growing. I'm always trying to do this. So this pattern of actually intrinsically growing outwards, having this work ethic is very important to me.
Yeah, see, and I grew up very, very like poor. Like my family was like poverty ridden, so I guess that was something that was kind of nailed in my head. Like if you want something, like you have to go and take it. Like you have to be the one that makes it come to you. Nobody's gonna come over here and say, "Hey, Nick, here you go, bro. Here's you a check, and you're gonna be fine for the rest of your life." No, like that's not the way I was raised. I was raised, you know, my dad, like I said, he was a carpenter. My mom, she cleaned houses and did, you know, in and outs just to kind of keep a roof and food on the table for us. So you know, I watched a struggling mom, you know, from the time that my dad left. You know, I think I was maybe like 6 or 7 years old, which we have a great relationship, and that's great.
Keep talking. I'm blowing
But you know, going into work ethic, like I said, there was 3 things that for me really gave me great work ethic, and that was the consistency to be hungry, my reasons, which are my whys, and then doing the dirty work. So I'm going to dive in on the very first one, and that's being consistently hungry. And I think many of you out there, you've watched The Rock, you've seen him talk about being the hardest worker in the room and having his back up against the wall. That's kind of the place you have to come from. And for me, you know, I told you I just got out of a 7-year relationship. Yeah. One of the things that we disagreed on is I always felt like I always had this purpose to do something more, something greater. And literally when I was the most unhappiest was when I was the farthest away from this goal that I had. And I just remember that this relentless will that I have to conquer and that you probably have to conquer, it also can be very detrimental to you as well, because there'll be times where you're, you know, everyone's going out and they want to go get drinks. Well, your brain's sitting here saying, all right, you need to go home. You need to be drinking your water. You need to be eating your meals. You don't need to be going out to eat.
Well, there's a great point to that Gary Vee makes is just patience.
Yeah.
And I think that one thing that we're extremely we're really trying to put onto you guys that we constantly think about is that we're thinking at a higher brain level than most of the people in our generation or other people are as well. We're realizing these things early so that we can understand that, okay, I have another 67 years to live.
What do I want out of it?
What do I want out of it?
Let's start now.
What steps can I take? Does this one day going out with friends matter as much as doing different things? Like we talked about the 10-10-10 rule or making these steps in this ladder. Or like, how are you going to continually grow? Or like weigh those options. Keep going. Sorry.
And you know, being consistently hungry, it's something that those words have to be used together. You can be hungry. You know, you can be hungry, you know, every 3 hours, every 6 hours, every 12 hours, once a day. But if you're consistently hungry, now you're consistently getting your meals in. You're consistently getting your work done. If you own a business, you're consistently going over the ins and outs. You're having meetings with your different people, with your staff, making sure everybody's, you know, working efficiently. You know, and most people that I see that really have this great work ethic and then that they're just driven and they're really very optimistic and they're enthusiastic as well. Like you can just tell when they're looking at them or you're talking to them that they have this great energy about them and they want to succeed, and you know that they're going to succeed just by the way that they're going about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing, man. You know, and another thing too, like with work ethic coming in, don't beat yourself up. Like if you make a mistake, learn from it. It's not a mistake as long as you learn, but if you don't learn and you make the same mistake over and over again, that's why you see these people going down the line 20, 30 years and their bodies haven't changed. They're still in the same place in their business. They're driving the same car, you know, they're still living at that minimum level. Yeah. And it's because that they've never made that change. Like you have to be really, really honest with yourself in order to succeed and to really be consistently hungry, you know.
Pain and failure are the best motivators. They're the best reasons why you should be doing something right, because you learn one way not to do it. You continue on that path. And we're back.
All right, guys. So we went over that first viewpoint on to have a great, overwhelming work ethic, and that was to be consistently hungry. Our second one is to have a great why. Why is that so important? Why do you think that's important, Nick?
Honestly, that's a really hard question, because sometimes I find it really hard to find my why. I think like defining your own purpose in what you're doing, it gives you a driving force. It gives you a goal so you can start moving towards something.
Yes.
Is that a good way to put it?
I 100% agree, and that's kind of what I was going to dive in. I'm going to take you off on a little tangent first. It's going to go on with like energy and like how energy is important.
Yeah.
So, energy is life. Like what I told you before, we see 1% of what's going on around us.
Yeah.
Without a great environment, and you're trying to plant all these different seeds that you want, let's go with business. Yeah. So you just started your own business, and you have a dream after your first year that you're going to do $100,000. You're going to profit $100,000.
Yeah.
Well, what do you do for that? You plant the different seeds. You work with your coworkers. You make sure that your brand and that what you're marketing, that it all matches up. Yeah. That it's good. That's going to be something that's positive. All right. Opposite is also true. So let's say that you've spent all this time on working on branding and working on the product, that you've kind of neglected the actual staff part of it, like the having good people come in and
your own
having
key
good
publics.
people. Yes, exactly. Well, that's kind of the same thing with work ethic. It's almost like this internal drama of issues where if you have something that's draining from it, it's going to continue to drain from it until you do something about it.
Yeah.
Your body and your work ethic's the same way. So let's say you have a big problem with drinking, or you have a big problem with just being lethargic or being lazy. I know I had that issue where I didn't want to get up and do anything.
I've done it too.
You get home from work, you're wore out, or whatever it is. But your work ethic's the same thing. When you really try to lay down these seeds of the things that you want, like you need to realize that, okay, I need to dial in. I have my diet on point. I got my physique on point. I have, my commentary on point. I have my social media down. I have everything going for me. But then you're lacking in this spot of your well-being, or your mentality, and it could take one thing, one little bitty tiny detail to throw it all off for you. So take advantage of any opportunity that comes your way. Like most of the time, if an opportunity is given to you, it's not going to be given a second time.
No.
Or a third.
But that's being present in that moment and realizing that opportunity is there. Or at least weighing your options and understanding where your guys are going. So.
And the same goes for ourselves. That's why you have to have a big why, a big reason as to why you're doing this. Why are you going through this? Why are you putting yourself through all this pain and despair and discomfort in order to succeed? It's because it's what you really want. And there's going to be times where literally your emotional state's going to be so bad for you that you don't know what to do. And that's where that why is going to come in. That why is going to keep you moving towards your goal no matter what the consequence, whatever it is. So you've really got to make sure that you manage your emotional state. Yeah. And that's one of the biggest things about it, because that why that you have, it's going to be able to give you a reason. It's going to be able to push you past.
And I think that's like one thing that's really helped me is I'm a very emotional person. So like I used to in the past, before I started actually confronting my emotions and doing different things, I was either 80% happy, 10% sad, 10% angry, which is not true. But in the context of this, it's a good example. So I would have my whys. I would have these things, but I would have, again, I talked about in the past, I would have these big goals and I wouldn't have a process of getting there. But at least having that subconscious thought in the back of your head of what you're driving towards, it almost is like an anchor.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
It's an anchor to like, so imagine we're going off path, but my anchor's over here. It's going to be like, whoop.
Yeah.
It's going to pull me back onto my path. Or you're going to let that anchor go. But it's there to help you actually drive you into the direction that you want. And as long as that's something that you're still like a reassessment of your whys, reassessment of why you're doing different things is very important. But having that anchor there to set, like I'll get in a bad mood and then I'd be like, I'll calm down and I'd be like, why am I doing this? And it would give me, okay, cool, I'm doing this.
You're managing that emotional state that you're in at that point. Yeah. He talks about always that those rungs of success that you're climbing throughout your life. Combine the technology that you have with the norms that you got from your parents or that you've learned from society. Yeah. Combine those, Because a lot of the times right now we see people really, they depend so much on technology, but they don't do enough on themselves. Like where do I find that middle ground?
It's that noise that's going on all around us.
And, just realize that you don't need to blend in. Like, let your light shine. There's going to be a lot of people, especially that if your work ethic's anything like mine or like his is, it's, we're very niche driven. We're very, very kind of quirky and kind of weird, but it's something that works for us.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. It's gotta be you. You gotta be you.
And when you get in, there's these states that they call flow states.
Yeah.
And what it means is like you're building momentum, like you'll have one good thing happen, you'll have something else that happens, or you'll hit a goal, and then something right after that good will happen. And you'll just be in these flow states.
Yeah.
So, with work ethic, this is something that I've always done is I use keywords. So when I get into this emotional state, let's say I just succeeded a goal, whether it was like, gaining 10 pounds or in business, whether I just completed a plot plan that was really hard or something like that.
Yeah.
I remember what that emotion felt like. And you almost want to lock it in, write it down, whatever.
Yeah.
So that way when you're feeling down, you're like, damn, man, like my emotional state right now sucks ass. Try to remember what that emotion felt like when you succeeded and filled that goal.
Yeah.
And then guess what? If you can remember what the fuck that felt like, you're going to be able to relive it, dude, every fucking day.
That's a great point. Because, look, if you have a song that makes you sad or something like that, the reason why it makes you sad is because the emotion you felt was so aggressive to whatever was happening that it reverts back to that memory because your brain remembers that stimulation. So it's the same thing with this. If you I praise myself in the little successes all the time. I'll buy pizza. I'll play some video games. I'm just proud of the individual things that I'm doing, and it helps me really guide along my process. But for that encouragement, those things that I do that allow me to celebrate those little wins, it actually does. It's an anchor again. Mm-hmm. But if I think about those things, and I think it brings me back to this path of moving forward, no matter how down I get, no matter how beaten down I get. He can take a sledgehammer to my head, I'm gonna get back up.
Yep. I mean, think about it, too. There a lot of people say thoughts become things. Yes, that's true. Thoughts are also emotions. Emotions become actions. Actions become lifestyles. Lifestyles become your entire life. And then you see these people where they get trapped in this one long emotional standpoint where they're just depressed over something that happened to them 15 years ago or 5 years ago or 5 minutes ago.
Which is okay.
And it sticks with them for 20 years.
Which is okay, as long as you get to a point you understand that that you can grow past that.
Yes.
And people,
and that's what ultimately I think what work ethic is about.
It's getting past, that's a great point. It's getting past something that you're overcoming your emotions, overcoming something because you're driven towards a result. So that's really interesting. Did you finish the 3 points?
That was the second one.
Okay,
so
third point.
Going on our third one. Do the dirty work.
Gotta get your hands dirty.
There's this guy, David Goggins, and I know a lot of you have probably read his book, Can't Hurt Me. If you have not, I definitely recommend it. This story about this man, he was belittled. He was 300 pounds twice. He went through Navy SEALs Hell
Navy SEAL
Week
guy
3 times, and then eventually made it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then now he's this big, great influencer, and he never
really
had
great,
any
inspirational person.
He never wanted to do it. That wasn't his goal in life. His goal in life was literally just to better himself. And what he found out is that through all this suffering and all this pain, that he can find his ultimate potential on the other side of that. So that's why doing the dirty work is going to be number 3. And you got to get your feelings hurt, man. You got to get real with yourself, and you're going to find things that you're... Yes. Find that inner animal inside of you that you just want to bring out, and realize that back in the day, we were hunters and gatherers.
Yeah.
That's all we did. There's no fucking bearcat chasing us anymore, or saber-tooth tiger chasing us anymore. So you know what it is now? It's social media. And it's getting on here and comparing ourselves to other people. Well,
I'm about to dive into this.
We shouldn't do that. You know what I mean? But stop making excuses for yourself. Get your ass up early and suffer. And you'll get to a point where you move through all this. And I'll give you a really good example, and I'm going to let Nick go right here. Mamba mentality. Kobe Bryant. He just passed away. God bless you, Kobe, and your daughter. You've changed my life, and your perspective and your work ethic is something that I admire the most about you. And you studied, then you taught, and you learned everything. But this man was literally up in the gym, and his trainer, they did a podcast on this, and his trainer woke up to a phone call from Kobe, and he was like, what the hell is Kobe Bryant doing calling me? It's 2 o'clock in the fucking morning.
Yeah.
And he answers the phone. Kobe's like, hey, can you come let me in the gym? Like, I want to shoot. It's 2 a.m. This motherfucker just had a game. Like, that's the kind of drive that made him great. That's the kind of drive why when he passed away that everyone literally looks at him and is like we have literally lost an angel. And it's because you have the ability and you have the possibility to touch lives like that. Yeah. I think that's what we're kind of moving towards. And, and I hope you guys out there listening, I hope this is something that helps you guys. And I'm going to let Nick kind of dive in on his perspective. But go out there and get your work ethic. Get what you want.
Yeah. So this is the way that he's talking about the uncomfortableness of today's society. And I'm going to dive into work ethic and how this applies to your job or whatever you want to do. So, number one, why is everyone people are so afraid of failure, people are so afraid of being uncomfortable.
Yes.
And that's, of course, it's our fight or flight response in an action because, honestly, we're so used to social confirmation.
Yes.
So, like, someone likes my post, I'm happy. Someone comments on my post, they're happy, blah, blah. But being berated or people's other comments or opinions.
But on the opposite side, that's true as well. You don't get the likes, you delete the post. You know, you don't get the pat on the back, you're depressed about it.
So that's all distractions, okay? So now if we look straight into a career path. So me at Panda Express, one of the things that I've noticed throughout my jobs in the past 7 to 8 years that I've been working is that my coach is right. Our generation is fucked, but not in the way that he's saying. In the way he's saying they're all just terrible. No.
Yeah, it's not.
You have a majority of people that, because my generation is so distracted, they're going to work to just get paid, okay? Because nothing they're doing is, their goals are something different, which is not a problem. But set goals in the things that you're doing as well. Have that work ethic in there. Because guess what? I worked at Panda for 6 months. My mindset was, okay, cool. I'm going to do my job to the best of my ability, but also I might as well learn some stuff that isn't specific to my job, or I might as well help other people out because it's going to make their life easier because I already know how to do my part. And because of that, I grew and I grew and I grew, and 6 months into my job, I get an interview and I jump 3 spaces up to being assistant manager. Huge raise, huge benefits behind it. But guess what? The reason why I got that position wasn't because I was super dedicated. It wasn't because I worked incredibly hard. It was because I wanted to do a little bit more than I was supposed to.
And that's what it is. You know what I mean? Like, if you want a great life, it's about doing that little bit extra.
Yeah.
And same thing with your relationships. I know I was a type person, I got very complacent in my relationship. You know,
I can agree.
You stop spending time or making time for that person because you're so worried about these other things. Take that work ethic that you have and that you know is great and apply it to every aspect of your life.
Yeah.
And that's what's the difference between having a good life and having a fucking great life.
It's always moving forward. And I urge you guys to do the same in your own career path or even in school or whatever sports you guys are doing.
Yeah.
Because you'll be surprised at how far it takes you, that one extra rep, that one helping one more person out.
Reading that extra page.
Exactly. You know? It all adds up. It's like, I heard, again, Gary Vee was talking about something, or Joe Rogan, and they were talking about 2 boats going on, infinitesimally, whatever. Infinitely. Okay, if one takes the direction path this way, just a little bit. At first, they're not too far away, but as they go, they keep going further and further. That one extra page adds up to a lot in a lifetime. Okay? Go that extra distance. You'll be surprised where it takes you in life. Because our generation is so distracted by social media, TV, our phones. Like, we have screen time on our phones. I spend 4 to 5 hours a week on my phone, and that blows or a day on my phone. It blows my mind. But guess what? I don't do anything about it.
In comparison, dude, like, oh my God, like it's so bad. Like, anytime I talk to someone now, like, I go into the gym, they want to compare you to someone, or they want to say like they want to look like this person, or I want to eat like this. Okay, that's good to always have like a good role model and stuff, because you have a platform to step out and kind of give that as an outline for your own life. But don't forget what makes you special. Don't forget what makes you, because I'm going to tell you right now, there's been a lot of times where people have counted me out and written me off, and I have busted my ass to get back up.
I love when people tell me.
And that for me is priceless, because literally when I lost everything and I had nothing, my bank account got closed. I was so fucking broke. My car got repossessed, all this shit. And, you know, I literally had to bust my ass and consistently work hard. And I went from 180 pounds to I'm like right at 220 now. And then, you know, I didn't have a car. I got a new car. Like, I didn't have a house. I got a house. Like,
he's
you know,
he's on the come up, baby.
And that's not what it's really about. It's really about just like keeping my energy in line and realizing that if I want a great life and the life that I know that I can have, I can have. But it's just going to take me kicking my own ass to do it.
Yeah, and I think that even on the other side of this, so he's talking about like people want to be these different things. I think that having a guide is a really great way to help you with your work ethic too. So like he was talking about The Rock earlier, these different people, you can have these different idols that you can be like, damn, if that person can do it, I can do it. And you give that swift kick in your ass. Like,
but what you don't see as well with those people, man, like you see the good parts. You see the awards, you see the movies, you see the trophies.
Human.
What you don't see is this big ass pyramid of fucking traits and failures and like mistakes that they went through that took them to get them here.
It's an iceberg, man.
And it's something so freaking crazy because, you know, going back to The Rock wanted to be an NFL star. I don't know if you guys knew that. That's what he wanted to do. He was going to be an NFL star.
Yeah.
Ended up getting hurt, didn't work out. He ended up having $7 in his pocket. That's why his productions are called $7 production. If anybody knows Rock, that's what it is. But then this guy literally, he was like, this isn't right. Like I've worked my ass off for so long. What's going on? You have to be able to realize that maybe just because this isn't meant for you, that something else isn't. And you have to really find that other 100%, you know, after that, because that's what it is. It's every time we get in life and we get to a new point in our life, we have to find our new 100%.
It's a niche.
New 100%.
You have to realize that there's a whole fucking world out there. Like, I get in ruts all the time because I'm 23, I haven't done all these things. There's people around me that are doing so great or on Instagram, but you can't compare yourself to all these different people.
Nope.
You can have this person's mindset in your head and help that drive you, like we were talking about, like The Rock. Like, damn, if he can be that persistent, like, there's no reason that I can't be fucking great.
Yeah.
Okay? But you can't sit there and compare yourself to all these other people. You are in your own shoes. You've lived your own life. You can't sit there and put yourself in someone else's shoes and be like, why aren't I living their best life? Blah, blah. When all you see is the pictures of them doing good. Guess what? They have fights with their parents. They have things that they're mad and sad about. They're not always perfect. They get beat down. But guess what? You get to see the happy side because that's social media. You know, people only post the things that they're happy about. People only post the things that they think they're going to give them clout. Yeah. But guess what? We're going to be above that. We're going to challenge ourselves to be the best individuals we can be and keep growing from that. And that's what work ethic is all about, my friends.
That's what work ethic is.
That's opening your own door.
It's not about taking the achievement for yourself. Yeah. It's realizing that I'm doing this to better not only me, but the people around me. And ultimately, this is my perspective on it. And I know a lot of you out there, y'all don't believe in a higher power. But eventually, I want to get to a point where I get, I'm done. I'm about to be judged and everything. And they're like, oh, damn, dude. You've done all these things. Like, holy crap. Not only did you do all this bad shit, when you were young, because I did, did a lot of bad shit. I'm sure all of us have. But I got to a point where literally that I felt like I had to get back because I've done so much bad shit. Yeah. So that's where my work ethic really kind of came in. So now this ultimate divine being is sitting there judging me at the end of the day. And then they get done and they're like, man, you've accomplished a lot of things in your life, not just good and bad, but you've honestly came down and you've helped so many people. And that's what I want out of life.
And I don't know if you're almost done, but to close this off almost, is a great representation of what we've been talking about this whole time is exactly what Zach's saying. Let's put Zach's life in perspective. Okay, he did a whole bunch of bad things in the past, but he's continually worked on bettering himself, and things have come to him because of this process. Okay, our goal right here is to make you self-aware of the processes that you can do. Yeah. We are not control of your life. We can only give you this information for you to do. Okay. We are so passionate about it because we want you guys to be as successful as you can be. Because we're in the process of doing the same thing. We're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna make mistakes. We're all gonna fucking grow.
Everyone knows.
But look, it isn't me opening this door for you. We are the developers of our own opportunities, and we reinforce our success. So my friends, it's time to open that damn door and time to go through it.
Ultimately, guys, he can creak it open for you. I can creak it open, but you got to open that damn door yourself. So remember, in your work ethic, be consistently hungry, have a strong why, and do the fucking dirty work.
Oh. You guys have a fucking fantastic day, week, month.
And let's open these fucking doors.